Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, and welcome to Smash Saturday, where we talk about all things Smash related until we get a new Smash game, whether that be Smash 6 or Smash Ultimate Deluxe. And I want to talk today about 10 things that I need in the next Smash game. I'm going to call it Smash 6 for now, because I think if we would have gotten a Deluxe of Smash Ultimate, I think we probably would have gotten it at launch, or shortly after. I think we would have known about it by now. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume it's Smash 6. So I'm going to be going over 10 things I think need to be in the next Smash game. This, of course, is my personal opinion. I think a lot of these are going to be more objective than subjective, but a lot of these are going to be stuff that I observe as a competitive player and as a spectator, stuff that I just really want to see changed in the series going forward. As always, please let me know in the comment section down below what you think needs to change going into the next Smash title. Let's get started with number 10, which is going to be closer stats on everything. If you're unaware of how stats work in Smash Ultimate, you have like everything from the weight of the characters. You've got like Pichu and Bowser being substantially different weights. Bowser lives much longer than someone like Pichu. And then you've also got like things like air drift. You've got initial dash speed, your actual dash speed, your walk speed. There's tons of stats in Smash Brothers that vary from character to character based on a variety of things, typically stuff from their own series, which I think is cool in a lot of ways, but I would like to see a little bit less variance in that respect. I've talked about this in another video as well. I'm sure I've talked about stuff I want to see in the next Smash game, but I thought I'd want to do a revamped list here. And I think closer stats is something that I really want to see, because the problem with it is that you have characters like Pichu that are just so light and balloony, they just die super easily, so that they have some kind of mechanic that activates at higher percents, for instance. So let's look at Sephiroth for this example. He has the wing that activates at higher percents, but because he's super tall and very light, he dies pretty early compared to almost anybody else in the cast. So he doesn't get to make use of the wing at all. So him being super light is a huge detriment to him. Look at Ridley as well. Huge body, but about as light as Samus, or a little bit lighter than Samus. Not super big and heavy like Donkey Kong or Bowser, and so he dies pretty easily to a lot of combo characters. It's just, I feel like there's an imbalance in a lot of ways. So I'd like everything to move a little bit closer together. This goes for all stats as well. I think airspeed is one thing that is really tough. If you have a character that has a really hard time getting down from being juggled, it's just a nightmare. Typically you have something to make up for it, but not always. And so I think if you unify the stats a little more, get them closer together, you still can have some disparity between the lightest and the heaviest character in the game. I think that's fine. But when you have other characters like Kazuya that are really strong and they're super heavy, it just makes for a really bad experience from the playing perspective, at least. So I'd like to see them closer together just to have a more unified kind of look across the board. Number 9 is going to be a universal air dodge, or nerfing air dodge recoveries in general. I think I like the idea of air dodges being different based on the characters, like weight and stats and stuff like that. But I think it's better when it's closer together. I think recoveries in general in Smash are just too strong. Smash Ultimate especially are just too strong. I do like how in like Melee, they have air dodges that are a little bit different based on the characters, but they are much closer together than they are far apart. And typically they do not offer a huge advantage either. In Smash Ultimate, they're paramount to recovering for essentially every character in the game. In fact, you could argue that it makes a lot of the lower tier characters a lot better because they have recovery options from even far out. Like Ganondorf, for instance, you knock him really far off the stage to the right, he's really far in the blast zone, he can air dodge before using his jump, which is a huge boon for him. A lot of lower tier characters really are benefited from this, but at the same time you have high tier characters that or even top tiers that really benefit from the air dodge mechanic being so strong, and I just think that needs to come down. I don't like how it is right now. I think they're way too strong. I hate seeing a character that I'm pretty sure is dead and then they use an air dodge in a spot where I didn't think they could, and they live somehow. Like their up B wouldn't make it to the stage, but somehow a like horizontal, a diagonal air dodge toward the ledge will like grab it. I just think that's super ludicrous. I just don't like it very much. I don't know if I want to go back to like Smash 4 air dodges, although that is something to consider. It was interesting that every character could just air dodge over and over again in the air. Maybe if you want to get rid of directional air dodges altogether, you just get one in the air. That's something that maybe could work. But I would rather have the directional air dodge stay, but either be nerfed substantially, make it more like Melee, or like just tone it down in the way that how much distance it covers or what it can do. It's just a little too versatile. You also have a lot less like end lag too, so if you're air dodging from the blast zone, most situations you're not in free fall long enough for a character to punish you. Depends on the character, of course, but sometimes that you just get a free extra jump, essentially. So I'd like to see air dodges changed in some meaningful way in Smash 6. Number 8 is going to be balancing multi-hit moves. Now, I actually think in Ultimate, multi-hit moves are the best they've ever been in like every way. Like they're very strong in this game. Like some characters like Diddy Kong had a multi-hit for his rapid jab in Smash 4, and it was awful. And if you had it in Smash Ultimate, it would be really, really good, because multi-hit jabs are fantastic. And I'm not saying get rid of them, but I think they're too strong. And I don't mean typically the rapid jab ones. I think rapid jabs actually work pretty darn well, but there are so many multi-hit moves in this game that just connect so darn well. Some of them are bad and haven't connected well like ever. Think of like Pikachu's forward air or Samus's forward air. It's really easy to fall out of those. They fixed Pikachu's multiple times, I think at least once. They fixed that one because they were falling out of it, and they fixed other ones that needed to be fixed because you'd follow the move too easily. But there are other things like Steve's up smash, for instance, has a huge scooping hitbox and is impossible to get out of. I think if you're going to have a multi-hit move that's super strong, you should be able to SDI out of it, or at least have a chance to. But stuff like Steve's up smash is my big one right here, because I just think it's so egregious. It's just so stupidly strong. And then you look at Zero Suit Samus's up smash, and it hardly works half the time. They just need to balance them a little bit better. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if you need to make them like worse across the board, or just need to make them like a neutral, like I don't know what it is I'm really asking for here. I just think they need to fix them. I think they're better than they have been, but especially in the smash attack area where they have multi-hits, it's so hit or miss. I just think they need to be smoothed out a little bit more in the next Smash game. Number 7 is going to be shield drop platforms, or at least not as sticky platforms. I have definitely talked about this before in some of my Smash videos, but it's so annoying trying to get off a platform in Smash Ultimate. You see it all the time if you're playing online. Even in big tournaments, you'll see people like crouch a couple times on the platform. You know they're trying to drop through, and they just get stuck on it for no like discernible reason. It's inexplicable why you can't get through platforms really easily, or when you do just get through super easily. I just don't understand it. It feels like they are just gluing you to the platform half the time. There's so many times I'll see a misinput because someone's trying to drop down fair and they ended up getting a forward tilt or a smash attack even. That can be super detrimental. A misinput like that can really kill you in a big set especially. So if it's not even your fault, it's just the platform sticking you there, I just think that's something that needs to be changed. Shield drop platforms is something that they had in the old Smash games. It was fantastic. I think it's a really good thing to just revert back to. That's what I would like to see, or at least just get rid of these sticky platforms, because I think they kind of suck in Smash Ultimate. For number 6, we're going to do a lot less safe moves. I think there's too much safety in Smash Ultimate. There are too many characters that have too many strong options that have essentially no drawback. There's so many times where the parry system is fantastic. I think that they did a pretty good job with it, because it does a lot to punish a lot of moves, like let's say Rob's Nair. Rob's Nair is a very safe move, a very strong move, because you can spam it. It's got a big hitbox. If you land with it in the right window, you're going to have a lot of safety across the board. You can act before your opponent does in a lot of situations because you have a lot of fast buttons. Parrying is a very good solution for some of these problems here, because if you parry Rob's Nair, you have a lot of window, a good frame window to punish him for doing something over and over again, for spamming the same option over and over again. But there's a lot of characters that can get away with it almost indefinitely. Look at Cloud's back air, for instance. If you throw Cloud's back air out on a shield and you just space it the right amount of the right way and get the right like A landing frames and everything to auto cancel your aerial, you essentially have a free giant hitbox to throw out as much as you want, and there's not much the opponent can deal with it, even if they parry it. I've had a ton of times I've gotten really good at parrying Cloud's back air when I play online, and there's just nothing I can do to punish it half the time, because he can space it so well. Even with the extra like 5 frames you get from parrying, it's not enough to punish him. He can get away really fast because it's so big and because it's so safe. So I think getting rid of safe moves across across the board would do a lot to make the gameplay more interesting. I like a more measured approach to Smash. I don't like the super explosive. I like it to some degree. I like having a more fast pace in a lot of way. I think Melee is really fun to watch, but I also like Melee because it's a little more measured at the same time. You have a lot of explosive things that can happen, but the neutral is really paramount in that game. You have to be playing good neutral, otherwise you're just gonna get absolutely destroyed for it. So I like seeing a good balance there, and I think Smash Ultimate is a little bit on the annoyingly safe side. I think if they get rid of, maybe make it harder to get your auto frame cancels on your aerials, make some smash attacks a lot less safe. I feel like smash attacks should be incredibly unsafe, but some of them just inexplicably have no end lag, looking at Game & Watch specifically, but even stuff like Wolf F Smash. It's just dumb the way that some of these attacks just feel super safe when they absolutely shouldn't be. So that's something I would really like to see changed in the next Smash game as well. Number 5 is going to be nerfing Rage and comeback mechanics. I think Rage got a nice tune down from Smash 4. It was way too strong in that game. Absolutely abysmal. You could see characters like Rosa, Bayonetta kill you off the top at 0% because they get one little blip knockback. Mario's if you hit it the right hitbox of up B and not the ending one or something like that, it'll kill you off the top super early. It was just a lot wrong with that. The balloon knockback had a lot to deal with that. But I think that they did a good job in Smash Ultimate of toning down Rage. I'd like to see it toned down even more. I think it's too strong, primarily because it's paired with a lot of comeback mechanics. Smash Ultimate has a ton of comeback mechanics, looking at Kazuya's Rage Drive. You've got Sephiroth's Wing, which I talked about earlier. It can be super strong, but a lot of situations you don't really get the benefit of it. But they've got Lucario's Aura mechanic, which was broken in Smash 4 because of how strong Rage was. I think they just need to tone them down. If you're only going to tone down one, I'd like to see comeback mechanics nerfed quite a bit. I think Terry's Go meter is absolutely broken. Why would you get a ton of special moves just for free? Most of them are pretty safe. I mean, if you shield Buster Wolf, sure, you're going to be in for a free punish, but everything else, if you do the power geyser, or if you're just threatening the Buster Wolf all the time, it just seems a little broken to me, and I'd like to see those toned down. Or even things like Diamond for Steve. There's just a lot of comeback mechanics in this game that I think need to be toned down, and I think if they tone down Rage as well, it would make the game a little less volatile. I'd rather see comeback mechanics first, because Rage does make for some interesting gameplay for sure, especially from a spectator's perspective. I think there's a lot you can see there, see a lot of comebacks happen because of Rage. I've definitely been a part of that. I did one tournament set where I was at 150% down one stock to 3. I ended up making the comeback of my life, shut the guy down immediately, all his friends talking behind me, beat him, forced him off his character, and then destroyed his secondary. It was awesome. So Rage, I think, has a place here, but I think they maybe tone it down a little bit more, and for sure tone down the comeback mechanics in this game. Number 4 is going to be no 0 to deaths as much as possible. I know that they try and get rid of these. I know at the beginning of Smash Ultimate, Luigi had his normal 0 to death that he had in Smash 4, and it was broken because getting a grounded down air, while you do the typical rep. If you're not familiar with Luigi's 0 to death, you do a down throw into down air, into landing nair into down air, and before it got patched out, you do another down air, and if they were on stage, you could hit them with a grounded spike, and they were stuck in the animation until you got down, and you could do an up B. It was very easy. It was especially easy in Smash 4. They got rid of that, and within an hour of that patch, people were getting falling up air into up B, which is now the standard combo that you see for most Luigi players. So 0 to deaths have been a part of Luigi's kit since Smash 4, and I don't like them. I think they're really annoying. I was really bad at them. It took me a long time to finally figure it out. The combo is not super easy, especially in Smash Ultimate. Smash 4 it was a lot easier, but it's hard. The timing is really particular, and it takes a lot of skill to do it. I also think it's bullcrap. Why would you be able to just get one interaction win and take an entire stock for it? It doesn't seem very fair to me, even if it's relatively balanced in Luigi's situation, because it's hard to get the grab, it's hard to get your frame perfect combo and everything. Kazuya is a good example of why 0 death should not be in the game. Ice Climbers, again, as cool as it is and how hard it can be, it's just bullcrap. One interaction win and all of a sudden you lose a stock for it in a game where momentum is typically pretty strong. So I'd like to see 0 deaths completely eliminated. I know it's really hard to balance that because of the way certain things move. So Rob's gyro, for instance, has a lot of combo potential. It has a lot of zero to death potential because the item's so strong. I know it's hard to balance for all of those things, but I don't want to see zero to death true combos in the next Smash game ever. And if they find them, I want them to patch them out immediately because I don't think there's a place for that. I think Luigi having that as his main gimmick was, well, like, people don't like Luigi because he has that potential. I don't think that's what makes him the strongest. I think having other kill confirms makes him so scary at like any percent. But having those combos, I think, just ruins some of the integrity of the game, and I don't like seeing that. The only time I've ever liked a zero to death in a game is like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Marvel vs. Capcom, where you have to do some crazy team combo and there's like certain situations where you have to get the right hit because of scaling and everything. I think that can be cool. In Smash Ultimate, I just don't think any of them are cool. I'd like to see them all gone. Number 3 is going to be nerfing recoveries. This is a huge one for me. I talked about this with Airdodges, but recoveries in Smash Ultimate are way too strong. People can come back from anything. And the worst characters in the game, like Little Mac, Ganondorf, Dr. Mario, in terms of recovery at the very least, can still make it back in a lot of ways. And they're the only characters I feel like deserve something like that. Everyone else just gets extra resources for free, and it sucks, and I hate that. And to see, like, especially if you look at Dr. Mario, his up B is one of the worst, like, in terms of distance in the entire game. It's so bad. Mario's is like twice as high as his for no real reason. You got Game & Watch that can drop almost down to where you're about to die in the blast zone, get his up B and air dodge up to ledge, sometimes not even have to air dodge. It's ridiculous. Kazuya's recovery is broken. Steve's recovery is broken. Pyra and Mithra's is like the most exploitable out of the Fighter Pass characters, or one of the most exploitable, and it's still really good. I just think characters need to have bad recoveries to balance how good their kit is. That's what makes Smash so fun, is the balancing aspect of it. So when everyone just has a really strong recovery, it makes the game really hard because you have to be fishing for kill confirms like crazy. You don't have a great gameplay. There's just a lot that messes with things when everyone can recover from almost any hit, as long as you don't die off the side or off the top. Like, it's just crazy. There's not many situations where you see a character not at least have a chance to make it back to stage. So I would really like to see them nerf recoveries pretty much across the board, or make the bad characters recover really, really well. Do something to change it up, because right now I think recoveries are way too broken. I see characters make it back from things that they absolutely wouldn't in any other Smash game. I'd love to see that change. Number 2 is going to be a new gimmick. This is almost an obvious one at this point, but if you look at Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate, there isn't a ton changed in terms of like the way the game feels. Sure, you got like the balloon knockback has been decreased quite a bit. Smash Ultimate's knockback feels perfect. I think it's fantastic the way they do that. There's the changes like the zoom in camera. I think that's really cool. I like that quite a bit. But if you look at Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate, they do feel very similar in a lot of ways. I like the Smash meter idea. I think if they tweaked that and do like Smash meter, do something different than the final Smash to make it more balanced so you could use it in a competitive instance, or make it more fun in a group instance as well, or add stuff like EX moves. We got EX moves in almost every other fighting game, have some kind of meter for every character, and then get rid of stuff like just being able to spam special moves. I just think of like Ryu's like red fireball, for instance, is extremely strong in Smash, and in like other instances, you typically have to spend some meter for it. I know that's not always the case in every fighting game, but having that be a meter spend move would make it a little bit better in my eyes. Being able to spam something like that against a character that has a hard time getting in can feel extremely strong, and I think having that be balanced a little bit because of like an EX meter or something like that could be cool. I don't know how they would do it necessarily. I'm not a game designer, but I would like to see something. So if it's not Final Smash meter, if it's not an EX meter, something like that, I'd just love to see them do something wholly unique with the next game. Give us some new reason to jump in and say, yeah, this feels very different from Smash Ultimate. And I think a gimmick would do a lot for that specifically. But number 1 is going to be remix movesets for at least all the base roster of Smash 64. I would prefer all of the roster through Melee at the very least, because I feel like the movesets have been especially stale back then. Remixed movesets would make this game feel completely different than Smash Ultimate, and I think that's the biggest thing I want going into the next game. I want it to feel unique and have its own identity, instead of being like, oh yeah, it's Smash 4, but better in a lot of ways. I think Smash 4 was actually a really good game. I really loved it. Smash Ultimate is just a better game in almost every conceivable way. I'd like to see Smash 6 just be a different game in a lot of ways. Imagine if you, I think they're probably almost certainly going to do this, but Donkey Kong's going to have his DK Bonanza look and likely a lot of his moveset, differentiating him from every other version of himself since Smash 64. He has stayed remarkably constant since Smash 64. And that's not a great thing. I think he's got some unique stuff. His cargo throw is really cool, but why haven't they mixed it up at all? Same thing with Mario, the poster child of Smash Brothers. Why hasn't he gotten an updated moveset? Why is he still using Flood from Mario Sunshine? That was a one-off game that's, I think at this point, not most people's favorite in the series either. He's gotten Cappy, but they didn't utilize that in Smash Ultimate at all, despite like changing Link to have a Breath of the Wild item in his remote bomb, having a different appearance and everything. They just gave Mario a taunt with Cappy. We need some remixed movesets. Change it up, make the characters feel more fresh. That would do a ton for the longevity of the game. I think the hardest part about playing a new Smash game like Smash Ultimate is that it feels familiar, which is kind of good in a lot of ways, because if you go from Smash 4 to Smash Ultimate, things won't feel too crazy different. Playing Luigi in both games is different in some ways, but it's very familiar at the same time. Same thing with Mario, same thing with most of the 64 cast. But at the same time, changing it completely means I have to learn something brand new, which is really fun and exciting, especially in a competitive sense. That's the most fun that you can have in a competitive game, is when everything is brand new and no one knows what is good yet. And I think having at least the original 12, get their moveset shaken up, assuming that we keep every character in the roster, I think that would go a long way to make the game feel fresh and distinguish it from Smash Ultimate and every other game in the series. So that's going to be my list. Let me know in the comment section down below what you want to have changed. Let me know if you disagree with any of my opinions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.